أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأني أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي شرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. So obviously most of you probably seen the whole of the question time show on TV. That was just a few short clips, the highlights of the show if you like, of the question time show. And what we wanted to ask, we didn't put any blurb on our flyer, is, so what do you think? Because it was watched by over 8 million of the British population. Now that current TV rating is huge. And then the next day it was all over the papers, and before that it was all in the papers, that Nick Griffin, leader of a fascist organisation, is going to come on a very respectable question time show. And you saw what happened in there. There was he complained there was a lynch mob that was set on him in the question time show. All the parties ganged up against him, and he was, as they say, taken to slaughter. But what I want to ask initially is, so what do you think? I'd like to ask, everyone, I saw it. Everyone saw it. I would like to ask what people thought about the show. About, what Nick Griffin said and what the other parties have said.
I think it's all a political tactic, because at the end of the day everybody knows what the MP's policies are. But I think the tactic is where three main parties, didn't mind him coming on. Because if he came on, then the world, as you quoted, 8 million people could really see how his fascist views are. And they could be disgusted by his views. And what that would do in turn is encourage them, look, if you don't vote for us, the BNP will come into power. But that would just encourage those 8 million people, and plus a few other millions from the tabloids. It would then just encourage them, look, you've got to vote for one of the three main parties. And that's why I think it's just a political tactic.
Anyone else? If you was in the question time show, what would you say yourself?
Well, I think that they allowed him to come on the show so they could just push all the blame to the unpolitical minded people out there to say that he's the one who's attacking Islam and it's not them, and they're standing up for Islam.
Yeah.
So they're trying to push the blame onto him, really.
Anyone else? You've had your chance, man. We'll go on, inshallah. Yeah, time at the end. So obviously the British National Party was founded in 1982 by John Tyndall, who was a former member, I think a leader of the National Front. And if you're as old as I was, you will remember the National Front very well. Skinheads, Dr. Martin boots, green bomber jackets, and if you ever saw them, you better run. And you will see them at school. You probably see the NF logo all over the place. The NF were notorious in the riots and the fights that happened when the Asians came over, when the blacks came over, to say blacks out, basically. All blacks of all colours, get out. And they were quite violent, and they were, I've got chased loads of times, I don't know if they're NF or not, but it was that type of white racism was all over the place. But then they formed the British National Party to become a more, a political party. Nick Griffin as well was a part of the National Front. But then they changed and tried to become more acceptable. A more acceptable party. Nick Griffin himself was saying that he came and changed the BNP to become more acceptable to the British public. And then they changed their stance once more to get on the bandwagon, the anti-Islamic bandwagon, and be against Muslims and Islam, because then they'll get accepted. Because everyone is against Muslims and Islam. And one of the reasons BNP has risen to notoriety is because their stance against Muslims and Islam. Because all the other parties, even though their policies might be far worse, They won't openly, explicitly say, we don't want any more Islamization of Britain, none of this Sharia courts in Britain, no more mosques. BNP will come out and say that they got the support from that. And when that brother asked, why do you say Islam is a wicked religion, he had no qualms about saying, yeah, Islam is a wicked religion. Because that's how they get their support. Because they are standing firmly against Islam and Muslims. And this is their campaign now. It's not against blacks anymore, against browns, against Chinese, against Asians. It's specifically and mostly against Muslims. It's against Muslims and what they're doing to Britain. And this is the BNP. And this is they came on to Question Time and they're getting a bit more support. But surprisingly, the BNP were not happy with Nick Griffin. They say he wasn't extreme, he wasn't representative of their views. He should have been more stronger on their views. He was pandering too much. Because it was only last month, I think, in October, when they was accepting non-white members of the BNP. So this is the British National Party. And this is the monster. Because you know when you're a little kid, you know when you're, if you don't eat your food, the monster's going to get you. Don't go up the stairs. You know the little kids, they start to crawl up the stairs. They don't go up there because the monster's up there. There's a ghost up there. Watch out for the ghost, watch out for the monster. Don't do this because the monster's going to get you. And this is what they're saying about BNP. Like the brother said. You better vote for us or the monster BNP will get you. If you don't do that, the BNP will be after you. And they'll close down all your mosques and they'll kick you out. So you better vote for Labour or Liberal Democrats. They're the monster under the bed that is used time and time again to scare specifically the Muslims and get them into line. Because the monster, the BNP, will get you. But who are the BNP and what is their support? The brother last week in his talk on Halloween, he mentioned about the numbers of the BNP. How many numbers they actually have. They haven't got any MPs. Not a single MP in Parliament. They've got 60 councillors in and around UK. Now, in UK, there are 12,000 councillors. So the comparison of the number of BNP councillors to the rest is that little green wedge you've got there. And it doesn't even come up as a percentage on the computer. It's 0%. They're hugely overhyped. Hugely overhyped. And they were brought on Question Time, and Peter Hain beforehand, they said, look, you're just giving them a platform. You're just hyping them up even more. Hugely overhyped. Because they're used by the establishment as the monster that's going to get you. If you don't fall into line, the monster will get you. And then you will get the Muslims on the other side saying, look, you see, we have to vote for Labour, you have to vote for me, because there's a lot of Muslim and proposed Muslim MPs, you have to vote for Liberal Democrat, or the monster will get you. And this is how the BNP is hyped up, a hugely overhyped party in Britain.